but in the end, Mauricio Pochettino's men get the 2-1 win, and it was the return of the Giovanni Reyna show. So let's hear what Poch had to say about him.
He scored, and I think he did a very good job. So happy with him. He showed why he started, and he has confirmed that he's a player that need to improve because he need to play more in his club. But we can see today that he was great, score and assist, and in the way that always the capacity to read the game and find the free space in between the line. I think that was a nightmare for Paraguay, and I think he did a very good job.
All right, so Giovanni Reyna back in the U.S. camp since March, his first goal since last year at the Copa America, so over a year. Big moment for him. Kasey, of course, you know him very well. He's battled through injuries, but what we saw from him last night, he really brought that X factor back to the USA. So, as I asked you yesterday, does he start based on what we've seen?
I think it's too early right now. I still think, you know, obviously he wants to get himself established at Gladbach. Get more in the starting lineup. I think what he did do last night was show Pochettino that he gives that team something different that they don't have, and that of course, if you're playing, you know, here and there for your club, it's going to be hard to say, okay, go start, you know, 3 matches in a World Cup and go from there. But I think what he really showed was, it's going to be difficult to keep him off the squad because if you need a goal at some stage, he gives you something different than anybody else.
Even with those numbers on that graphic?
Well, we don't have that squad, Craig, that you can just say, yeah.
I get it. But even with those, when I was looking at that graphic, no goals, no assists, and not a lot of minutes, which is a worrying continuation for that player of recent times. But I do agree with Kasey that as long as he's getting some minutes and he's not injured, which has been a problem for him, then at least he's got a part to play because he has got a skill set that will offer something different. Now, can you play 3 or 4 games on the spin in the heat when you're not getting much? I don't know. But the good thing for Pochettino is at least he's getting some wins at the moment. Now, I was telling Kasey before I came on air, when you talk about some of the US fans and media spinning it. I saw a tweet last night, it made me giggle, that this is the first time in 10 years they've had 4 straight wins against teams in the top 40. FIFA, top 40.
40. Reaching.
4-0, not 10, not 20, not top 15, the top 40. So that tells you the tale. Japan B team, Australia, Ecuador, and somebody else I can't even remember. But it's better than getting beat, which they were, and so at least it takes a bit of the heat off Pochettino for now until the real stuff comes along.
And the thing that's always important for everything kind of in this build-up to a World Cup, you're really starting to look around February. Who's playing? Because you still, right now, you had, I think, 8 players that could arguably be starters, not in this squad because of whatever reason, through injury or through... and I still don't understand it, some sort of favor to their clubs to not call them in and do something. But you're going to have those situations where somebody emerges that hasn't kind of been in the equation because somebody's been injured or somebody's out of form or somebody hits form at the right time. And so, you know, a player like Gio gets himself into a situation with Gladbach where he's playing week in and week out. He's starting to really contribute on goals and assists. Somebody else is injured or out of favor for their team. So, yeah, there's a whole lot left to go.
On a scale of 1 to 10, bearing in mind we don't know the draw, we don't know form and fitness of the squad, where are you in terms of with this US team at the World Cup, gets a decent draw, are you kind of 50-50 on how it's going to go, or a little bit more confident than that, or less? You know, you just think...
These last 2 camps have significantly helped in the confidence side of things.
Because you saw the bite back that you've been talking about.
I saw a little bit of, like, pride.
Right.
And then you also saw Pochettino starting to... I think look at the guys who are playing in Europe and going, okay, if they can give me the desire, there's clearly a quality difference as well. So that's giving me hope that he's looking at it and not just saying, hey, who is ever playing, you get to play. And now he's saying, well, wait a minute here. There's a little bit of a difference, and that gives me hope.
And I suppose, Kasey, you brought this up yesterday when we were doing Football Americas and talking about this, but just the fact that the desperation to get a Gio Reyna back into the squad, despite the fact that he's been battling injuries, despite the fact that he's had limited club playing time, is because there's just no other player apart from Christian Pulisic that is quite like him in terms of bringing that X factor. And you look at who the US is going to face at the World Cup, and these big squads and teams like France have 4 or 5 players with that X factor. But the USA, you said, if it's not Gio Reyna, it only leaves you with 1.
Right. And so I think the difference what Gio gives you is there's a lot of midfielders that can keep possession by taking a touch and passing the ball backwards. There's very few that under pressure can go past a defender and bring somebody into play going forward in trying to score goals. And Gio doesn't lose the ball in midfield, but not only does he not lose the ball, but he doesn't lose the ball and then plays forward. And like I said, the U.S. doesn't have a lot of those guys. And so maybe when you're playing against a Haiti, you can create 8-10 chances to score 2 or 3 goals. When you're playing against the better teams in World Cup, you might create 2 or 3 chances, and you need that really good pass, that really nice play to get yourself out of pressure. You also, if you're, maybe only having 30-40% possession, you need that guy that can hold the ball as well and connect with somebody up front and not just give the ball away again and have more pressure come in. So that's where I think if Gio can get obviously more game time at Gladbach, start to really contribute, he can be a massive benefit to the national team.